Welcome back to episode 7 of Isle of Scáth. This week we make a start on the castle, and what better to hide in the base of said castle than a dark ride. Now you might be asking what dark ride could possibly suit our elitist wonderland, and for that we must turn to BIOSHOCK. BIOSHOCK is a first-person shooter set in the underwater city of Rapture, an intended utopia now turned to ruin. During BIOSHOCK 2, you go through Ryan Amusements, where you'll find a broken down track ride called Journey to the Surface, and I thought wouldn't it be wonderful to restore the ride to its former glory. The mix of Rapture being a hidden city for the world's greatest minds, and the fact it's in the middle of the ocean, makes it the perfect theme for our dark ride. Much like we did with the bunker in Worthington Farms, we're going to watch the finished POV, and then I'll show you how it all came together.
Andrew Ryan wakes one night while cruising the Atlantic in his steamliner, the Olympian. His sleep interrupted with a singular purpose. Here, he shouts to his crewmen as he wipes sleep from his eyes. Full stop. We begin building here. Refitted for heavy construction, the Olympian returns with a new cargo. A state-of-the-art submersible platform, nicknamed the Sinker, ferries supplies and workers to the sea floor, fathoms below. After initial supplies have been brought to the seafloor, the platform is permanently moored in the sediment. Massive iron girders are sunk hundreds of feet into the rock and silt. Below the platform, engineers work to overcome obstacles such as diamond-hard rock, obstinate sea life, and unexpected terror. After the platform is secured, work progresses at an astounding rate. Designed to be the foundation of Rapture, workers toil around the clock to create the metropolis you see today.
Why, hello there. My name is Andrew Ryan. I built the city of Rapture for children just like you, because the world above had become unfit for us. But here, beneath the ocean, it is natural to wonder if the danger has passed. If those we left behind will ever come to their senses. So, let us imagine, you and I, what might befall us on the surface. On the surface, the farmer tills the soil, trading the strength of his arm for a home and lands of his own. But the parasites say no. What was yours is ours. We are the state. We are gone. We demand our share. The parasite makes nothing for itself. Its only tools are taxes and tithes meant to trick you into offering what it has not earned. In Rapture, we keep what is ours. On the surface, the scientist invests the power of his mind in a single miraculous idea and naturally begins to rise above his fellows. But the parasites say no. Discovery must be regulated, it must be controlled, and finally, surrendered. An artist strives to frame his ideals in an image, to challenge his audience and make his vision immortal. But the parasites say, no. Your art must serve the cause. Your ideals endanger the people. Lacking its own ingenuity, the parasite fears the visionary. What it cannot plagiarize, it seeks to censor. What it cannot regulate, it seeks to ban. Rapture was founded on an idea, and here they are held inviolate. On the surface, your parents sought a private life, using their great talents to provide for you. They learned to twist the lies of church and government, believing themselves masters of the system. But the parasite said, no. The child has a duty. He will go to war and die for the nation. Unable to provide for itself, the need of the parasite grows until war is made to justify it. Your parents brought you to Rapture, where you need never fear the parasites again. So you see, there is no place for you on the surface. But you may bring the world to you. If you know someone who belongs in Rapture, write a letter to the Ryan Industries mailroom, and you never know. The next new face might be familiar.
As with every dark ride I make, planning is key. As Journey to the Surface already exists, it all came down to working from reference. I measured 8 meters for each small scene and 16 meters for the large ones, and laid everything out accordingly. The scene we see most often is the office of Andrew Ryan, so I began with that. I matched the scene to the reference as best I could with the assets we have in the game. With the office complete, I slid it into its first position. The first 4 scenes of the ride are actually displays you find outside, but I felt it important to include them for context. I created these containers using basic shapes and beams. The lit screens actually overexposed the images, so I went with the standard screens and used box lights to give them a nice glow. Skipping over the farm scene because my screen capture software decided to take a cigarette break, I made a start on the scientist scene. Once again, I worked from reference for the main room layout, but then used a bit of artistic license for the decoration. When it came to lighting the scenes, I used a mix of warm and cold whites, known in the industry as CTO and CTB. I used steep angles to keep light off the walls but maintaining face light. I knew my degree in lighting design would come in handy one day. For the artist scene, I veered from the original design a fair bit and went for a New York studio loft. I added downlighters to accentuate the raw brick. I created an easel using hydro beams and a wooden pillar before popping a TMTK canvas on top. Another couple of copies of the office, and the final scene to build was the living room. I achieved the TV effect by burying a box light into the TV cabinet and creating a simple looping trigger sequence. Now, the realism nerds out there might be saying, excuse me, where's the maintenance area and how do the vehicles get there? Oh well, I'm so glad you asked. I turned the final office scene into what's called a set truck. This is when an entire set is put on wheels and can be moved freely. In this case, the office can be pulled back and pushed to the side to allow the ride vehicles to leave the track into a maintenance area. Here's me testing out my beautifully designed set truck. Now came the time for a heckload of triggering with the lighting and sound cues. Now you might be wondering, where did you get the game audio from? Well, from the game of course. But Moomin, there's no level select in BioShock, so how did you get to Ryan Amusements to record the audio? Oh, that's okay, I just had to play through the game again. Ah, the things I do for content. With all the scenes in position, it was time for the show building, and finally time to whack out the city brick. Honestly, this piece alone makes the Ghostbusters pack worth buying. Then came the usual details you'd find around the edge of a build, like catwalks, fencing, and fire exits. Moving on to the station, something I was very keen to achieve was the stunning views you get from within Rapture. This was achieved with a single 16-metre screen with custom windows in front. I used gloss tile pillars and walls, and then metal supports for the window frames. I added some of Fiorana's wonderful dirt decals to grabby up the walls a bit. Speaking of TMTK, my new favourite pieces are Idro's metal tread plates. When it comes to putting a lid on a dark ride, I will always do 2 layers, one with black panels followed by the roof itself. This, along with the city brick, helps a great deal with darkening the interior. Next came the queue. I thought it would be nice to have a glimpse of what Rapture might have looked like before it fell into disrepair. I used a combination of metal wall pieces, pillars, wooden fencing, and gold temple pieces, which are actually a subtle nod to the tattoo on the protagonist's wrist. Much like I did in the information shop, I added an upper level of city brick to hide some trussing and lighting. I then added some practical wall fittings using TMTK. A few people have berated me for making my queue so long. Well, just because this park is for the elite doesn't mean there aren't a large number of them. But also, try not to worry yourself too much. For those of you who simply cannot cope, I added a little shortcut separated by a chain. Lastly, I gave our queue a floor, which happened to pick up the lighting beautifully, may I say, and then popped a wall on the end. With all of our interior walls done, it's time for those good old castle walls. I wrapped the whole show building in ruined pieces before giving it a flat roof using Idro's plaster wall. And there we have it. It may not be the most action-packed dark ride, but it suits our park perfectly. Next week we'll be adding another flat ride and continuing the castle. See you then!